Good morning, all, and you all are the welcome to our training session, audit trial review of the laboratory software. The training agenda is regulatory requirement, basic information of the data integrity, audit trial, and ALCOA++, electronic record, electronic signature, and requirement of computerized system. Why audit trial review is required? What should be reviewed in audit trial? Who should review audit trial? How often should review audit trial? All these points we will discuss during this training session. Analytical raw data review, role of QA QC or lab QA, auditor requirement. So this is our agenda for our training. So about the myself, I am a Bhavik Jani, trainer, auditor and consultant, 20 plus year experience in a pharmaceutical formulation, worked in a quality control, quality assurance department, and worked as a QA/IT or QA QC. About my experience, I have a total 18 plus year experience, as I told you, starting from the IPCA laboratory, then JB Chemical, then Sun Pharma, Umedica, Corona Remedies, and presently I am running the training institute where providing the training to fresher as well as existing pharma employee. This is my lab. I have all type of the instrument like the HPLC, UV, dissolution, Calfisher, DT, FIBT, balance, pH meter, and providing the training to the fresher as well as the pharmaceutical employee, practically handling of the training. And this is my upcoming course where I conducted this type of the course. So we are going to start the training session with the regulatory requirement. So what is the regulatory requirement for the audit trial review? We will discuss regarding the MHRA, Annexure 11, 21 CFR Part 11, USP, PICS, Data Integrity and Compliance Guideline, ICH Q7, and WHO. So starting from the 21 CFR, what says the 21 CFR about the audit trial review? 21 CFR said the software should independently record the date and time of the operator entry, and software should independently record action that create, modify, and deletion of the electronic record. Means software should automatically capture all type of the entry, like the creation, modification, deletion with the date and time, and the user name of the operator. Record change should not obscure the previously recorded information. Whatever record are generated, which is not overwrite to previously generated the record, means if the version 1 and version 2 are there, the both versions should be available in a software. The version 1 should not be overwrite with the version 2. Each audit trial documentation shall be retained for the period at least as long as required for the subject electronic record and shall be available for agency for review. Each and every record shall be available as long as the requirement, means as per our policy, as per our organization requirement, and it is easily available for the agency review. Annexure 11, what said about the audit trial? The Udrilic Annexure 11 said the risk assessment to be prepared for the creation of the record of the GMP relevant changes and deletion. For changes or deletion GMP relevant data, the reason should be documented. Means for the every software you have to prepare the risk assessment, and based on the risk assessment you have to decide the date, whether the mitigation is required or not. And each and every entry of the creation or deletion entry should be captured by the audit trail. Audit trail need to be available and convertible into the generally intelligible form and regularly review. Audit trail should be available for the intelligent form, means it's a human readable form, and whenever required by the agency review it should be available. What about the PICS? The PICS said that the audit trail functionality should be enabled and locked at all time, and it should not be possible to deactivate, delete, or modify the functionality. The audit trail functionality should be enabled all the time. Audit trail activity should not be disabled by the any of the user, including the administrator. If possible for administrator user to deactivate, delete, or modification of audit trail functionality, and automatic entries should be made in audit trail indicating that this has occurred. If administrator have rights to deactivate the audit trail, then the audit trail should capture all the activity of the deactivated and enable or disable the audit trail. Activity should be captured by the audit trail. What about the data integrity and compliance with the drug GMP? What guideline says about this? The electronic record include those that track creation, modification, or deletion of the data. And data should be tracked such as attempt to access the system or rename or delete the file. The audit trail include those that track the creation, means creation, modification, and deletion data should be captured by the audit trail. And whatever the file rename activity are there or deletion activity are there to be tracked by the audit trail. Then the MHRA said that an audit trail should be provided data security throughout the life cycle. What is the meaning of the throughout the life cycle? Throughout the life cycle means data from the creation, modification, deletion, alteration, all the activities should be available in a audit trail. Audit trail should record activities such as creation, addition, deletion, or alteration of information in record, either paper or electronic, without obscuring or overwriting the original record. Audit trail should be record each and every activity of creation, modification, or deletion. An audit trail facility, the reconstruct of the history of the such event related to the record regardless to its medium, including the who, what, when, and why. Audit trail should be captured all the activity, and in the future, if we want to review the audit trail, we can reconstruct all the activity like the who generate the data, when generate the data, what is the purpose of the generating data, why any changes are there. All W should be available in a audit trail. What about the ICH Q7? ICH Q7 said that the computerized system should have sufficient control to prevent unauthorized access or changes of data. Computerized system should have a sufficient control. Means each and every activity of the unauthorized user access or change in access right should be captured by the audit trail. There should be a control to prevent the omission in a data. Example, system turn off or data not capture. Many times in a QC, what happen? Analyst shut down the instrument or shut down the computer, so data will not capture. If this is happen in your lab, you have to give some mitigation plan for that. Okay, whenever the analyst turn off the system or turn off the software, turn off the instrument, data should be captured. There should be a record of any data change made, the previous entry, who made the change, and when the change was made. As we discussed previous slide, all the entry of the who, when, where should be available in a audit trail. Return procedure should be available for the operation and maintenance of the computerized system. SOP, standard operating procedure, should be available for the computerized system. What about the WHO? The WHO said that the CGXP system should provide for the retention of the audit trail. Audit trail should reflect user, date, time, original data, and result. Change the reason for the changes and enabling and disabling the audit trail. Same as we discussed the previous slide. all the activity of the user, creation, date, time, data changes or reason for the changes, enabling or disabling the audit trail, all should be captured by the audit trail system. What about the USP? USP said that all the correction to the original entry should be initiated and dated or captured within the audit trail, electronic audit trail. It is written in a 1029 general chapter, good documentation guideline. So if we think about that, all the guideline like the MHRA, PICS, 21 CFR, then the UDRAL USP, all the guidelines say one thing is that whatever data created, modification, deletion, archive, whatever activity are there, it should be captured in a audit trail with the date and time stamp. And who, what, when, why, all the W should be captured by the audit trail. So this is about the regulatory requirement. Now we will discuss the basic of the data integrity, audit trail and ALCOA++. So what is the definition of the audit trail? The audit trail means a secure computer-generated timestamp electronic record that allow for reconstruction of the course of the event relating to the creation, modification, or deletion of the electronic record. Audit trail means a secure computer-generated timestamp electronic record. And whenever we require to reconstruct all this thing in a future, so audit trail should give a sufficient information of the who create the data, who modified the data, who delete the data, when create the data, when modify, when deleted, why created, why modification, why deletion. All the records should be available in a audit trail. For example, the audit trail of the HPLC run should include the username, date and time of the run, and the integration parameter used and detail of the reprocessing, if any. Documentation should include the change justification for the reprocessing. If you say that in this example, the username means who create the data, date and time, when create the data, integration, and the reprocessing. Why the reprocessing changes should be there? Why reprocessing is required? And integration, what parameter we integrate? All the W answer are there. What is the data integrity? Data integrity refer to the completeness, consistency, and accuracy of the data. Complete, consistent, and accurate data should be attributable, legible, contemporaneous, recorded, original or true entry, and the accurate. Means as per the ALCOA. Data integrity is equal to ALCOA, ALCOA. Data integrity is critical throughout the CGMP life cycle, including in creation, modification, processing, maintenance, archive, retrieval, transmission, and disposition of the data after the record retention period. In a one sentence, if I say what is the data integrity, means data should be intact throughout the life cycle. Throughout the life cycle means when the data created, modification, deletion, archive, maintenance, retrieval, the data should be throughout the same. In a simple one sentence, data should be intact throughout the life cycle. What is the ALCOA? Attributable. Data must be defined. Data must be identify individual who produce, where produce, when produce. If any correction or abnormality should be noted and justified. Attributable means data who created, when created, why created. If any are changes are there, so it should be justified with the QMS or with the GMP document. It's attributable. Legible data must be traceable, permanent, readable, and understandable by anyone reviewing the record. Data must be traceable and readable, understandable. Understandable means So whatever document you prepared and you use the language, its language should be understandable by all the person who working in your organization. You have to create the or prepare the document with understanding of the those employee. If the employee doesn't know about the English, so you have to prepare your document in a Hindi or Gujarati or Marathi or local language. And the next, contemporaneous data that are entered into the record at the time they are generated, means online data should be recorded. Online data should be recorded means, for example, you have to take a weight of the any of the material. So when you go nearby the balance, you have to enter the all the detail of the your material in a instrument uses logbook, like the product name, date, batch number, AR number, and start time, and the test. You have to mention this all the detail in your logbook. After the mention the type, start time, you have to start your activity, weighing activity. And after completion of the weighing activity, you have to enter the end time and then you leave the balance. This is called a online entry, contemporaneous. But if you mention the start time and end time at the same time, that means it's not a contemporaneous. Original data or source data in a record in which the data was first recorded. Original data or source data in the record in which the data first, whenever you record the data, the first recorded data said that it's a original data. If you record the data in your personal diary, then your personal diary will be the original data. That's why CGMP said that you have to use the CGMP report issued by the QA for the any data capturing. Then the accurate. Data are correct, truthful, complete, valid, and reliable. The data always should be accurate. For example, for the calculation of the essay test, if the essay test, your SOP said that essay test results should be one decimal, then you have to report the in a one decimal only. If your SOP said that essay test result should be a two decimal, then you have to record the two decimal. That's accurate. So data should be accurate. For the pH meter, if the display value is 5.123, then you have to mention in a raw data 5.123. You cannot mention the 5.12 or 5.1. The display value you cannot change. That's accurate. Then the complete. Data should be a complete. Means any repeat analysis or any re-analysis, all the data should be in a one file. It's not like that repeat analysis data with the other incidents, re-analysis data with the different type of the incidents. It's not like that. All the data should be in a one file. Consistency. All the element of the analysis, such as sequence of the element, follow on and are date and time stamp expected the sequence. Means all the data available in your file should be sequentially managed with the date and time. Means first analysis should be upper, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. It's not like that you have the file the data like the third analysis data on the upper, then the fifth, then the one, then the two. It's not like that. It should be a sequentially filing, consistent, enduring, not recorded in back of the envelope, cigarette packet, sticky note, or sleeve of the coat. Data should not be recorded in any non-GMP document. Non-GMP document with black of the envelope. Any packet are there or any box, sticky note, yellow tag, sleeve of the coat, whenever we write in our hand or any else. So data should be recorded in your CGMP notebook or electronic media, which is issued by the QA and authorized by the QA. Data should not be captured in any non-GMP document available. Data can be accessed for review and audit or inspection over the lifetime of the record. Data should be accessed for the review whenever the auditor required or whenever the data required for the review. Data should be available within the 5 minutes. So you have to manage your system like that. Data should be available within the 5 minutes. If for the searching of the data, if your organization takes the 20 to 50, 30 minutes, then it's not available. So you have to manage the system like that. Should be available within the 5 minutes. Traceable. Data should be traceable throughout the life cycle. Traceable means who prepared, when prepared, why prepared, what prepared. All the W should be captured in a traceable. All the data should be traceable throughout the life cycle. So it's a ALCOA plus. Now we discuss regarding the electronic record. The electronic record means any combination of the text, graphic, data, audio, pictorial, or other information represented in digital form that is created, modified, maintained, archived, retrieved, or distributed by the computer system. Whatever data available in our computer, whatever data generated by the software, it's called a electronic record. It's maybe a text record, maybe a graphics, maybe a electronic data, means chronogram or any of the uh, analysis data. Then the audio clip, any of the like the during the investigation, if we discuss telephonic to the analyst and take the analyst interview by telephonic, or the for the any of the software error, if we discuss with the vendor and it's the audio clip, so it's also called the electronic record. Pictorial means many of the organization take the photograph of the TLC plate. It's also become the electronic record, and you have to store as a CGMP document. Likewise, during the investigation, if we found anything and we take the one photograph, so those photographs also should be stored as a electronic record. Then the closed system. The which system access is controlled by the person who are responsible for the content of electronic record that are on the system. Closed system means each and every activity should be controlled by the person. The person who are responsible for the creation of the user, modification of the user, creation of the access right, modification of the access right, and all other administrator activities controlled by the person. It's called a closed system. And open system, which system access is not controlled by the person who are responsible for the content of electronic record that are on the system. Means the each and every activity is not controlled by the person. Like there is no user are there who prepared the user. There is no user creation activity in a software. There is no access right in a software, or there is a no control on the deletion or the rename of the file. So it's called the open system. Electronic signature. What is the electronic signature? The computer data compilation of any symbol or series of the symbol executed, adopted, or authorized by an individual to be a legally binding equivalent of the individual handwritten signature. Means whatever the signature we done in a computer, it's legally binding with our handwritten signature. It's called the electronic signature. What is the requirement of the electronic signature in a guideline? So this requirement is given in a 21 CFR guideline. So whenever the person do the electronic signature, the printed name and the signer should be available in a electronic signature form. Date and time when the signature was executed, date and time also should be there. The meaning to why electronic signature was done, for the review purpose, for approval purpose, for responsibility, or any other purpose. It should be available in a electronic record. Signature should be human readable form of the electronic record. All the signatures should be human readable form. It's not like the barcode that nobody are readable. It should be human readable. Who sign and when sign and why sign. Each electronic record should be unique to the one individual and shall not be reused by or reassigned to anyone else. Each electronic signature should be a unique. There is no not assigned to the anyone. One electronic signature should not assign two or three person. The most important thing, the certificate shall be signed with the traditional handwritten signature and submitted in an electronic or paper form. So guideline said that one certificate to be issued by the employee, and the certificate should mention that the traditional handwriting signature and mention that my electronic signature is the equivalent to my handwritten signature, and those certificate hand over to the QA, and whenever the auditor asks for this type of the certificate, it should be easily available. The certificate shall be signed with the traditional handwriting signature and submit to the electronic or paper form. Person using the electronic signature shall, upon agency request, provide the additional certificate or testimony that specific electronic signature is legally binding equivalent to the signer's handwritten signature. So this type of the certificate should be available and should be stored with the QA. Now, what is the requirement of a computerized system? Software should be validated to ensure accuracy, reliability, consistent, and intended performance, and the ability to identify invalid or alter the record. First requirement is software should be validated. The second is ability to generate the accurate and complete copy of the record in human readable and electronic form suitable from the inspection review. Means computerized system should be capable to generate the record in human readable form. System should generate as a timestamped audit trail to independent record the date and time of operator entry for creation, modification, deletion, electronic record, and action of the chronological order. Means audit trail should be there. There should be documented system in place that define the access and privileges of the user system. Access right should be there. Then there should be a documented system in place to define the creation and inactivation of the user. Inactivated users should be retained in a system. A list of the active and inactive users should be maintained throughout the system life cycle. All the records should be available with the access side creation or modification or user creation of the modification or list of the active or inactive user should be available. Shared login or generic user access should not be used. Shared login means or generic login means if we created the one login like the QC analyst, so all the 2, 3, 4, or 5 analysts will be used the one login. It's a generic user or shared login. It's not allowed in industries. Limited number of the person with no conflict of the interest of the data should be appointed as a system administrator. Who will be a system administrator? The guideline clearly said that no conflict of the interest data. That's why in our organization, IT person will be the system administrator. Because of the IT person has no interest of the release, no interest in a reject, no interest in the OS, OT incidents. That's why IT person we appoint as a administrator, software administrator. Certain privileges such as data deletion, database abandonment, or system configuration change should not be assigned to administrator without justification. Certain privileges such as the data deletion, if critical privileges are there, like the data deletion, database amendment, should not be assigned to the administrator, or if it is not possible to remove from the administrator user for this type of the privileges. So in such case, any changes are there in a data, it should be authorized by the responsible person or rotate through the change control or any QMS system. Record should be maintained, the audit trail should be enabled in order to track the activity of the administrator. Whatever administrator activity are there should be review and track in a audit trail. As a minimum activity login for the such account and review of the logged by the designated role should be conducted in order to ensure the appropriate oversight. Whatever administrator activity are there should be reviewed frequently and investigated all the activity generated by the administrator. Where the system cannot support the ALCOA plus principle by design, mitigation measures should be taken for define the temporary period. If you have any of the software which is not complies with the ALCOA plus or the partially complies with the ALCOA plus, then mitigation measures should be taken for the defined temporary period. Means you have to give the some procedure control to justify those the partially compliance or non-compliance system, but it should be a temporary period. It not like that you have to use those system for the 2 year, 3 year, or 5 year. For example, add-on software or paper-based control may be used. Means procedure control, SOP-based control you can use for that. The suitability of the alternative system should be justified and documented. This should be addressed within the defined timeline, or you have to give the some timeline for those type of the procedure control. Where the electronic instrument, certain like the pH meter, balance, thermometer, or system with no configurable software and no electronic data retention used, the control should be put in a place to prevent the adverse manipulation of the data and prevent the repeat testing to archive the desired result. Where the electronic instrument like the pH meter, balance, where software is not available, then you have to give the some procedure control. So analyst cannot repeat the analysis without the authorization of the responsible person. You have to give the some procedure control over that. Appropriate control on deletion of the lapse in a data integrity principles should be in a place. Whatever lapse available in your software, it should be controlled by the procedure control. Technical control should be used whenever possible. Technical control means SOP control should be used whenever possible, but additionally procedure or administrative control should be implemented to manage aspect of computerized system control where technical control are missing. Whenever you feel that the procedure control is not sufficient, then you have to give some administrator control for that. Administrator control is also required whenever you have a system of the partially compliance or non-compliance system, then administrative control is required. Risk assessment to be prepared and identify risk on the data generated in computerized system. You have to prepare the risk assessment and mitigate those risks which is the high risk or which is the um, which is required to mitigate it, and data changes are there. Whatever access are there which is change your the data or it's create some alteration of the data. For that, risk assessment to be prepared and mitigate that. SOP to be prepared to mitigate the control or identify the risk. You have to prepare the SOP to control your identify the risk. Frequency monitor identify the risk. Frequently monitor the identify risk. You have to define the one frequency when you review the risk. Where the existing system do not meet the current requirement, appropriate controls should be identified and implemented based on the risk assessment. You have to prepare the risk assessment, and based on the risk assessment, you have to review your system. Then the some of the additional the computerized system requirement are the password policy should be there. Data should be saved in a software only. User cannot access local drive, copy, paste, or rename the save file. User cannot delete the file from the software or computer. Date and time of the computer should be locked. Auto backup facility should be there. Backup data should be retrieved in readable format. Audit trail backup and retrieval should be there. Audit trail activation and disable activities should be captured in audit trail. New technology implementation must be evaluated before implementation to verify the impact on older data. Means whenever you upgrade your system, you have to define the impact on your data. The old data impact should be evaluated before the upgrade the new system. Now we will discuss about the audit trail requirement. Why audit trail review is required? What should be reviewed in audit trail? Who should review in audit trail? How often audit trail should be reviewed? So why audit trail is required? First, software security and data security, unauthorized access of the software to stay in compliance environment, document proof of the any changes in the data, useful during the investigation, help to access the internal of the quality system and enhance the quality system and training system. So by the audit trail review, we will be in a compliance environment. And the most important thing, the review of the audit trail is we can access our internal control. And after the accessing the internal control, we can enhance our quality system and the training system. We can provide the training to the user if any abnormality are there. Likewise, if the analyst is not enter the proper comment in a software during the data save or the any method creation, sequence creation, analysis not enter the proper comment. So you can give the training to enhance your the system. What should be reviewed in a audit trail? There are two type of the audit trail. One is the system audit trail and another is the data audit trail. System audit trail means system setting and administrator activity are comes under the system audit trail, and it should be reviewed the periodically. Should be part of the periodically review. And data audit trail means electronic data record or result. Whenever the result are generated, it's come under the data audit trail. It should be a part of the raw data review and the review of the before batch release. The data audit trail should be reviewed before release of the batch. Before review, ask some question about the software. If you want to prepare any risk assessment and you have any question, what should be reviewed in an audit trail? So these 7 questions give the each and every question's answer. Like are control in place to ensure that the data is complete. Your data should be complete So you have to ask them okay, what we should do if I have to say that my data is complete. Are activity documented at the time of the performance? It's a contemporaneous. Data is the contemporaneous or not? Are the activity attributable to the specific individual? Username, user date and time available in a software or not? Can only authorized individual make the change to the record? The access right, who having the access right to change the record? Those users should only the change the record with the justification or the with the any authorization. Is there a record of the change the data? Whatever data changes are there, record is available or not? Are the record review for the accuracy, completeness, and compliance with the established standard? Record are available for the accuracy, completeness, and the compliance with the established standard, and the data maintained securely from the data creation through disposable after the record retention period. Data should be throughout the life cycle, intact throughout the life cycle. Now, what should be reviewed in a audit trial for the analytical data? First, you have to review the logbook entry and the software generated data. Then multiple time sample analysis, how many times the one sample is analyzed. If the sample is analyzed 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times, then you have to justify that okay, one data is for in process, second for the semi-finished, for the finished product or the stability data, you have to justify that. That's why your sample ID should include the AR number. So it's easily identified that how many times the analysis are performed for the one sample. Any unprocessed data are there, reprocessed data are there, aborted run, single run, all you should be checked during your analytical data review in a software. Manual injection or the manual integration, any reinjection are there, trial run, file name, file rename, all should be review during the your raw data review. Then the method creation or method modification, data deletion, file backup or file archive, user login or user logout activity, reviewer login, reviewer logout activity. All the activities should be reviewed during your analytical raw data review, and these all the points should be reviewed before release the batch. Administrator activity. Activity performed by the administrator login. Each and every activity which is performed by the administrator should be reviewed. System policy modification like the user access right, user creation or deactivation, backup or restore the data, data deletion, all the points should be reviewed during the administrator review activity. Additional review, system generated message should be justified, generated alarm should be justified. Means sometime what happens, system will give the automatic message. So it should be justified that this message is not impact to the our generated data. Sometimes some alarm are there. So those alarms should be justified with this alarm is not the impact to the our generated data, and it should be routed to the deviation or incidents or whatever your organization policy. System generated user should be a part of the SOP. System generated user means the some default user are there like the admin or the system or scheduler. So all the user should be a part of the SOP. And who is the responsible for those user? It's also part of the user list and your SOP. User created at the time of the qualification should be deactivated. Many times what happen during the computer system validation, the IT department create the IQ user, OQ user, PQ user, like that the username. But after the completion of the CSV, IT department not the deactivate those users. So those users should be deactivated. Date and time of the software, cut, copy, paste, delete, rename option should be disabled. You have to also check the date and time, and the cut, copy, paste should not be available in user login. Recycle bin and local drive should not be accessible to the user. Recycle bin and local drive also should not be accessible to the user. Who should review the audit trail? The audit trail, anybody can review the audit trail. In an organization, you can define the responsibility to supervisor or section head. First is the review the audit trail is responsibility of the supervisor or the section head. Then raw data reviewer, who review the raw data in a software. The raw data reviewer, QC reviewer is responsible for the audit trail review. Then lab QA or QA reviewer before release the batch. Before release the any batch, QA review is required. Then independent review by the QA as per review frequency. Independent review by the QA as per the review frequency means the whatever frequency we decide, the daily, weekly, monthly, the QA is responsible for the review of the audit trail with the frequency. How often audit trail should review? So as per the US FDA data integrity guideline, the FDA recommended the audit trail that capture the change to the critical data review with each record and before final approval of the record. Means before release the batch, data audit trail should be reviewed. Audit trail subject to regular review and but not included the following. What should be reviewed in a before release the batch? So before release the batch, you have to review the change history of the finished product or test result, change to the sample run sequence, change to the sample identification, and changes to the critical process parameter. Means minimum these three parameters you have to check before release the batch, change history of the finished product or test result, change to the sample run or sequence, change in any sample identification or change to the critical process parameter like the change in a instrument method, processing method, any reprocess are there. You have to check all these points before release the batch. FDA recommend routine schedule the audit trail review on complexity of the system and its intended use. FDA said that based on the your complexity of the software, you have to periodically review your audit trail. Likewise, data audit trail to be reviewed before each batch release. Before release the batch, you have to review the data audit trail. System audit trail to be reviewed as per the risk assessment and criticality of the software. You have to prepare the one risk assessment, and based on the risk assessment, you can define your frequency. If the software is compliant with the 21 CFR, then audit trail to be reviewed on monthly basis, or if the software is non-compliant or partially compliant, then audit trail to be reviewed on daily or weekly basis based on the risk assessment. Training agenda. Next, we will discuss the analytical data review, role of QF, QC or lab QA, and the auditor requirement. So, what is the analytical data review? The analytical data means the actual raw data generated and recorded during the sample analysis and traceability of the equipment and reagent used for the analysis. The meaning of the analytical raw data means the actual raw data generated and recorded during the sample analysis and traceability of the equipment. Likewise, the name of the material, instrument ID, data written in a template, chromogram, potency, any detail of the reference standard, working standard, all should be available in one of the report. It's called the analytical raw data. And the raw data means only original record and documentation written in a format in which they were originally generated or as a true copy. Originally record and documentation written in a format which they were originally generated. Raw data must be contemporaneous and accurately recorded by the permanent means. Raw data should be recorded contemporaneous and accurately. In case of the basic electronic equipment that does not store the electronic data or provide only the printed data, the printout should be your raw data. Whenever the electronic data not generated, but your printout are there, then your printout will be your raw data. What is the data information derived or obtained from the raw data? It's called the data. Why the analytical data review required? To meet the regulatory requirement, to ensure the accuracy, reliability, and completeness of the data, to supporting the product quality and patient safety, to generate the confidence from the analytical data, to help the access the internal control and enhance the quality system and training system. So analytical raw data review is required to get the generate the confidence on our generated the data, and by the reviewing the data we can enhance our quality system and we can provide the training to the analyst for the better performance or better enhancement. What should be review in a analytical raw data review? So first you have to review the general information like the product name or material. You can review the batch number, AR number, batch size or received quantity, manufacturing date or expiry date, pharmacopoeial status. You can review the manufacturer or supplier name, material type like the raw material, finished product or intermediate, product code, shape code, receive date and sampling date, analytical method of analysis and specification number. This type of the general information you have to review the first. After that, you can review the instrument standard or reagent information like the instrument calibration status, instrument ID number, instrument usage logbook entry, column ID, column usage logbook entry, name and grade of the reagent used in analysis, code number of reagent or volumetric solution, expiry date, validity of the solution, WS reference standard, impurity lot number, potency of the WS reference standard. This you have to check the all this the logbook entry or instrument entry before start of analytical raw data review. Then you have to start the analytical raw data review where you review the standard and sample preparation, standard and sample weight, countersign of the weight and pH printout, correction factor and the calculation. Any deviation from the STP should be justified. Authorization sign or authorization number should be available if any abnormality are there. Incidents, event, OS, OT, any repeat analysis are there. So you have to check that it should be handled through respective SOP. Blank space or strike in the protocol. Cross reference should be verified. Then the mobile phase preparation and chromatographic condition should be there. Then instrument data, date and time on the printout, hard copy versus soft copy you have to review. Then the instrument method used for the analysis, sequence of the analysis, processing method or integration parameter. Processing method should be throughout the same. Compare blank, placebo, standard and sample chromogram for any extra peak. System suitability criteria, any reinjection, reanalysis or aborted run and cancellation chromogram should be justified. These all should be reviewed during your chromatographic data review or any electronic data review. Then what is the role of the lab QA? Lab QA is responsible for all over compliance of the QC. Lab QA is responsible for review of the analytical report, review of the GLP activity. Lab QA should be a part of the laboratory investigation, online review of the analytical record, internal audit or of QC department, audit trail review of the laboratory software, gap analysis of the QC department. All the activities should be reviewed by the QA QC. Means whatever data generated in a QC, the QA QC is responsible for the review of the data. Auditor question. If the auditor want to show the laboratory software, so what question they can ask? First, they can ask for the active user list. Then list of the privileges. The privileges assigned to the analyst, privileges assigned to the reviewer, privileges assigned to the administrator, and the auditor can cross check with the your list versus your software. Check the administrator activity. Auditor can check all the administrator activity performed by the administrator. Auditor can check the how to review the audit trail, who review, and the review frequency. Auditor can ask your SOP about the audit trail review, the who review, and frequency of the audit trail. Auditor also can ask for the demo of the audit trail review or soft copy review. Auditor also ask to the reviewer or the lab QA person to give the demo of the audit trail review or how you review the soft copy or hard copy. One of the example can check the hard copy versus soft copy. Then review the generated message or alarm. Whatever the message are generated or whatever alarm are generated, the auditor can review all this alarm or message. So this is the end of our training session. If you have any question, you can ask me. This is my the address or the phone number. You can ask me the anytime. Okay, thank you, and thank you for your cooperation.